For the past 8 weeks, the Year 12 physical education classes have been studying the effects of sports psychology when implemented in the sport of badminton. The implementation of sports psychology in badminton has allowed me not only to better my performance as a player, but to also improve and strengthen my mental state as an athlete. There are many psychological factors that may negatively affect my performance, such as internal distractors and negative self-talk. For me, the major internal distractor, a thought that distracts attention from the present attentional cues, is the practice of choking. Choking is a regular practice for me, but it usually happens when I feel as though I have a lot of pressure on me to perform highly. This causes me to focus intently on movements that would otherwise be effortless and require no thought process. In turn, this generally results in delayed movements, muscle tightness, and increased anxiety. The other factor which affects my level of performance is negative self-talk, thoughts and counterproductive emotions which paves the way for overanalysis of one's ability and detracts from the task at hand. Oftentimes during a match, when I have proceeded to lose a number of points in a row off of silly personal errors, I begin to fall into a state of depression or loss in which my self-talk is more negative than usual. In doing this, I have unknowingly allowed my brain to send messages to my body that it no longer needs to perform. However, throughout this unit, I have been able to implement and utilize various psychological tools to help improve my state of mind and performance before, during, and after gameplay. These include imagery, technical and instructional self-talk, and routine. All three of these techniques work collaboratively to help improve my performance and allow me to focus on executing the strategies I implemented in gameplay, rather than simple shots and movements. There are various contributing factors to my psychological states during gameplay, ultimately determining the standard at which I'll perform. These include the stage of learning I am presently at and my motivation, arousal, and anxiety throughout gameplay. There are 3 stages of learning for any player in sport: cognitive, associative, and autonomous. In badminton, I believe I am now at the autonomous stage as my actions have become effortless with no thought process required, and I have started to implement strategies into my gameplay as well, targeting the weaknesses of my opponents. Motivation, arousal, and anxiety are also key factors in relation to the level I perform at as well. As a player who has a strong passion for sport, in particularly badminton, I find that motivation to participate in this physical activity comes to me with ease. In turn, this allows me to not only prepare myself positively for a match, but also allows me to perform at a higher standard as I am where I would like to be at that particular moment. On occasion, this allows me to one-up opponents with little motivation as their movements and shots are laboured and slow. Ultimately, motivation is a positive factor in my psychological development and preparation before a game, helping me to perform at a higher standard. When it comes to arousal and anxiety, it is important to maintain a balance of the two to keep my mentality in a state of calmness. It is important during a game to keep my arousal and anxiety levels even, as too much can cause me to panic and make silly errors, and not enough will result in laziness and laboured movements towards the shuttlecock. This is evident in the corresponding video footage where my emotions are running too high and I was not focused on serving strategically. Therefore, it went into the net. In contrast, the video footage now shows a clip where my arousal and anxiety was too low and I was extremely late in reading the play, resulting in the miss of a shot. For elite badminton players, the balance between arousal and anxiety during gameplay is almost always balanced. Watch as these 2 top teams compete ferociously to win the final set and the game. Although it is clear that their emotions are running high through the celebrations and disappointment between each point, the players are able to quickly refocus and continue on playing. This control is what allows them to play at the highest ability and compete both mentally and physically. Through the incorporation of both my personal video clips and that of the elite players, it is evident that a balance between arousal and anxiety allows for the best performance. Through the incorporation of both my personal video clips and that of the elite players, it is evident that a balance between arousal and anxiety allows for the best performance. This, along with motivation, is imperative in creating a healthy psychological mind, in turn giving the best opportunity to perform at my highest standard. The use of psychological techniques is an important aspect of building one's confidence and improving one's focus in sport. In badminton, I like to utilize imagery, technical and instructional self-talk, and routine to ensure that I give myself the best opportunity in that game. Oftentimes, when completing a shot, such as the serve, I utilize the collaboration of all 3 techniques as they all complement each other well. The exploitation of imagery allows me to not only visualize my shot before I make it, but to also try and feel what a winning shot should feel like, so I am able to see the best possible outcome and aim to achieve it. While visualizing, I also give myself instructional feedback such as keep the racket head below the wrist or swing the racket head smoothly, maintaining momentum even after contact with the shuttlecock. After I've established an effective shot in my mind, I then begin my routine. This can be seen in the video footage against a fellow classmate. First, I step up to the line and place my feet in the same position every time, giving myself consistency. I then raise my racket head and shuttlecock and assure that my hand positioning is within the legal guidelines of the sport, i.e. racket head below the wrist.
From there, I take a deep breath and begin my shot.
Pulling back my wrist swiftly, I then swing through the shuttlecock with equal velocity, following the shot through. The utilization of these three techniques together allows me to perform accurately and with consistency. It also works to deter the opponents as it keeps them waiting during the time it takes for me to prepare myself.
This gives me the element of surprise and also results in a leap in their anxiety as they are unsure as to when the shuttlecock will be released.
Throughout this unit, I have explored a wide range of psychological tools and techniques to determine which ones allow me to perform at the highest standard possible. As previously stated, imagery, technical and instructional self-talk, and routine were the most effective techniques. However, there were others in which successfully helped me to develop and mature as a player. Some of these included video imagery, teacher and peer verbal feedback, and journal entries. Firstly, the video imagery of games, particularly shots and interviews pre, during and after games, all contributed to the development of my skills. For me, visual imagery plays an imperative role in my learning process. Having the ability to see my actions and technique during a game not only displayed the errors I was making, but also showed me how to make effective corrections.
By watching my own matches along with those of elite badminton players, I was able to learn and grow as a player and develop stronger mental and psychological strategies to implement into my games. Another effective technique was that of verbal feedback from teachers and peers. Through this outside feedback, many errors that I had not picked up on or were not clear to me were brought to my attention, and I was able to make the respective corrections and improvements. I believe this gave me a greater advantage on court, as it gave me a different perspective towards my gameplay.
Finally, through keeping a record of journal entries after each lesson, I was able to go back over my psychological development through each match and the tools and techniques I implemented. This allowed me to see what worked best in terms of improving my gameplay and what was not as effective and resulted in poor standard of gameplay. In conclusion, during these past 8 weeks of badminton in senior physical education, I utilised and experimented with the incorporation of various psychological methods. These included video footage, imagery, teacher and peer verbal feedback, journal entries, routine, and technical and instructional self-talk. Although each psychological technique worked moderately to improve my performance in relation to motivation, arousal, and anxiety, I found that there were a select few which worked collaboratively to improve my performance standard and develop as a player. This leap in development allowed me to focus less on my movements and more on implementing efficient gameplay strategies, such as targeting my opponents' weaknesses. All in all, the introduction of sports psychology into the sport of badminton worked successfully in helping me to improve my playing standard from the associative stage to the autonomous stage through the effective implementation of psychological tools and techniques.